welcome back to Wrongfully Convicted. Today, we are here with my co-host,
Jessica Watson.
And Miranda Jolly.
But today, we are going to be talking about Donald Marshall Jr. He's actually someone who paved the way for wrongful convictions in Canada to be looked into and for many people to be free. So, we'll start off with his early life. Donald grew up in a family of 12 children. He was the oldest. He helped his father, who was a carpenter, with a lot of the work, and his mom, who was a cleaner at the hospital, keep their family together, essentially.
Yeah, a big family, a lot of attention, I would think, for a lot of kids.
It was, especially with his father also being the chief of the Micmac.
That's right. His father was a chief. He was actually supposed to become the chief as well.
He was.
That must have been difficult though, having that pressure on him, right?
Oh yeah. And the oldest,
especially being the oldest,
of all those kids as well. I would think so. I feel bad for him because he was wrongfully convicted and came from such a hard time in the first place that.
I would say because definitely his delinquency started around the age of 15 when he was sent to the
fully Caucasian
to the white schools.
That's when he started acting out. With delinquent behavior.
Also isolated. Back when he was younger, him and his friends from the reserve, if they would go into town, they'd be threatened by Caucasians or anyone really, even the police. So
after he started at that school, it just went downhill for him, because not long after he was wrongfully convicted of one of his best friend's murder. Right?
Yeah, and from the very start, Sergeant John McIntyre, who was actually, I believe, the arresting officer in his case, had it out for him and his friends from a very young age. They'd be arresting them for almost anything, actually. Yeah. It's pretty unfortunate.
Well, he was imprisonated before he was wrongfully convicted. Right, for a few months when he was a teenager.
Selling alcohol to minors, I believe. Which, I mean, he was like a minor himself.
Trying to get by.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's some pictures of him here, fortunately, but maybe
Yeah, he was 17 years old at the time of that photo.
And I believe that is when he was alleged to commit the crime. He actually wasn't the only suspect in the case, to be honest. One of his best friends, I believe his name was Artie, was the prime suspect, even though Artie was never even on the property, the park.
That's right.
Yeah. The police actually interrogated him and was trying to say, why are you gonna take the blame for your friend? Just do it. Point the finger to him, and he was He retained his innocence and his best friend's innocence because he knew who.
That's one thing. You do something, especially killing your own best friend, then you're gonna hopefully remain innocent, right?
Donald did remain innocent through this whole thing. Yeah, he never once said that he did it.
He was denied a lot of his appeals actually because he never once admitted to doing it.
He never did what they wanted him to do.
Yeah. No,
essentially.
From the very start, he never did. I mean, he was there for a week, the whole week after it happened. He was there every day, morning to night, and they would just be like, "Yeah, come back. It's fine. You can't eat." They took his sketches.
They didn't feed him. Yep.
They pretty much tricked him,
I guess, into helping
them lock himself up.
Right.
That there was also a language barrier. I believe when he signed a statement of what happened. No one was there to explain it. He didn't have a lawyer with him. They're just sign it. And I imagine.
And being 17, what do you really know?
Yeah, you're kind of just being thrown around at this point.
Being 17 and during that time frame in the 70s, there was a lot of racism going on, especially with First Nations. Yeah. Especially in Nova Scotia too. It wasn't the best thing actually. Anyway. I kind of want to go into detail about that exact night, but so Donald was on his way to a dance and he was cutting through the park where he ran into Sandy.
So they met up together?
No, Sandy was back on his way back from the dance actually. He ran into him and he said, Donald, the dance, it's sold out, so we can't go. And that is where Roy, who is actually the murderer, Roy had asked Donald and Sandy if they had a smoke. And so they walked over and they gave them a smoke. Now keep in mind, this is a white old man in the 70s who is like a war veteran. I'm not trying to stereotype, but I mean, he seemed pretty racist and was trying to like be, I guess, aggravated in the testimony. Anyways, whole point is, he tried to invite them back for a drink, and when they refused, an altercation began, and he walked away. And then Roy ended up running back and stabbing Sandy, and then attempting to stab Donald in the stomach as well, but Donald's arm protected him. And they ran off, him and Jimmy.
And then Donald left to go get help, right?
He did, yes. He met up with like a 12-year-old little boy, and which I couldn't imagine being that 12-year-old and seeing that, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Go, it's your opinion. What do you think about it?
Considering from the very beginning that he wanted to help, not only he wasn't the murderer, he wanted to help the police.
Yeah,
and they
right
just,
from the start he went and got him help.
Oh, he did. He gave descriptions right away, and
Yeah,
The
he offered
police-
to help.
yeah.
The police really failed him on his part.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I'm sure he had a lot of, thought like that while he was resonated for 11 years.
I know in some interviews he's been in, he's talked about how he got involved in drugs in prison because he felt like because of his race that there was no way out. He was not escaping. He was like censored for life. He was going to die there. He felt hopeless.
He did escape though, a Spring Hill prison.
That's right.
Yeah, he escaped.
He took advantage.
Not for long,
No.
but he did.
He took advantage of a supervised outing. And he wanted to actually go to BC, but he stopped at his girlfriend's house, which we all know is a rookie mistake because they check.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Like, I get it, Donald, but like, it's okay. We all been there.
Which landed them back in jail.
It did, but I mean, in that moment when like if you know truly that you're innocent, like why wouldn't you want to be a free man? I'd probably run too.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he should have just kept running.
Yeah.
No, he should have. But with this whole trial and everything, I just find it astonishing that like, how can you put someone away on eyewitness testimony alone when you have no physical evidence?
They didn't even check for more evidence. Like, they didn't go out of their way to make sure that they were, like. Wow, I'm so.
They had a private fashion case.
Gone today.
Yeah.
No,
they never searched Sandy's house for a murder weapon. I mean, they did a quick sweep of like the river, the ponds, and the park, the Wentworth Park, but they never found anything, and no autopsy was done either.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, years later, when it came out that Rush killed him, they found the knife. The evidence.
Oh.
They did.
But
years later,
years later, even though 10 days after Marshall's conviction, like Jimmy McNeil came forward and said, "Hey, I was there. He didn't do it. Said so and so did."
Yeah.
And the police just did a polygraph, and because Roy passed, they're like, nah, he's not the killer. Yeah, okay. About that.
Yep. That polygraph could have made things go a completely different way, and he was still sitting in prison after it.
Well, the thing is, it's not just a polygraph. Roy's daughter actually came forward a few years later and said, "That night I seen my father come home washing blood off a knife."
Right.
And the police didn't do anything either about that. Now you gotta think the question, is it because like what's his name? Sergeant John McIntyre didn't want his like reputation on the line?
That's true.
Because he just solved a murder case years ago, right? Now he'll look racist, even though he is a racist.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look good. I mean, putting someone away, especially when that police force never had to deal with, a murder case, and they turned away the RCMP's help in the first place. Even though the RCMP is actually what gave Donald his freedom. Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and talk more in detail with the trial and the retrial and exoneration. So, thanks.
Hey, we're back with Wrongfully Convicted. I'm Jordana Shane.
I'm Jessica Watson.
And I'm Miranda Jolly.
And we're going to finish off this podcast by talking about, the end of Donald's life and what happened and where it ended. So.
Yeah. So we're gonna start off about eventually when the case was broken back open. I mean, eventually
The
once,
RCMP.
Yeah, eventually once the RCMP got all this information that was like there was misconduct done, they stood in and they actually they got Donald acquitted. So he was acquitted for a year until he was exonerated, but the first thing they said to him though is like, you're not getting compensation because of the fact you had played a role in your wrongful conviction.
Seriously?
Yeah, thank God it was overturned, but he was only given like 1.5 million in the end, which is so sad.
For sitting in jail for
11 years. Yeah, exactly.
That's an innocent man right there who served 11 years, and these police probably know it.
Oh yes,
But
most of them probably did, but they, they don't really have the power to say much.
They do. I think this just comes
Or
with
they
like,
felt like they didn't.
with tunnel vision, I think they're like, you know what? The black man that was murdered, we have an Aboriginal man placed at the scene. There you go.
Yeah.
I literally think it was just racism that caused this.
Oh yeah, most of it is definitely racism. Not doing the job properly and being very
assuming from his past that's who he is.
Yeah.
As a person.
Past.
And this person wanted to help the police as well and turned down
It's
again.
not like he didn't try to,
Exactly.
help out and
I think that's the saddest
was
part
just
of it
an
all.
easy
He didn't give up. Right at the end.
And with his afterlife, he actually was arrested, I believe, a year after he was exonerated.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, but this
For
time
death threats?
Can't
Or-
catch a
for
break.
fishing.
Oh, fishing, yeah, but
With
he
the
was
little
arrested
license.
again for... He was arrested
Later
twice,
on, yeah.
twice after.
But like right after he was like exonerated when he was arrested for fishing, it's because he was fishing without a license and like he, instead of being like angry like in an aggressive way, he spent the money that he got from being wrongfully convicted into proving the treaty rights that were originally there.
Right.
Instead of like was a huge activist for Aboriginal rights. Even though he was so angry, he still was like, if I need justice, I'm taking it in my own hands.
Yeah.
Instead of trusting the judicial system, he went all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada to fought for what he believed in, even after they'd done him so wrong.
He did. He became a huge activist for First Nations, Indigenous people, and that's...
Yeah, there he is.
There he is, speaking on his behalf. Like, you can see in his eyes that like he's a man who's
been hurt.
through pain.
He's been hurt.
I couldn't imagine. Like some of the prisons like he was in are brutal. They're some of the harshest penitentiaries.
Oh, he saw people getting beat with pipes, whatever they could find.
Murdered and like CEOs
and he knew he was different. He knew he stood out, and that would have been terrifying.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Oh, especially in Nova Scotia, he was definitely a minority there.
And his race,
for sure.
His background plays a part.
He was released in 1989, and unfortunately, Donald did not live a very long life. Not too many years after he was released, he actually ended up having a double lung transplant, and I believe he died due to respiratory issues.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah, he did have multiple different health problems, but I think that was like the main cause of death. Yeah.
And leaving that behind, he left his wife and his son, I believe. Yeah, his son, Donald Marshal III.
Oh, wow.
Actually, yes.
Wow.
Which is very unfortunate, but I mean, I guess his son should be happy because throughout all the trauma and misfortune his like father experienced, he paved the way for people like David Milligard and G. Paul Moray. Yeah. And he opened up a whole new aspect to our legal system, being like, hey, maybe we did do things wrong.
Yeah,
and
for sure. We did mess up.
Yeah, he definitely made positive out
this.
of a very negative situation, so good for him for that.
He definitely did. I mean, it's hardship, I guess. Like, I couldn't imagine being him and, like, I don't know, having your freedom stripped away from you from that long. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, very interesting. Like, even the stuff he had to go through, you gotta wonder if it's a conspiracy. I mean,
you gotta wonder if it was set up.
With that one sergeant who never liked him, and the fact that the assistant warden, I believe at Spring Hill, was actually that sergeant's brother.
Yeah.
Like, how is
right.
I
How
mean,
does that happen?
and the fact that that when he was there, he was thrown in the bird cage for no reason, and like
Complete
the dark
isolation.
room, like by this one
Yeah.
PO. You got to wonder, you know.
Yeah.
Well, not
kind
PO,
of all comes
CO.
together.
Yeah.
And that is all we have on Donald Marshall Jr. today. Thank you for listening to Wrongfully Convicted. Have a good night.